Hello and a warm welcome to the VeVeVersum, dear WB Boyans. It's me again, your Frank, and I'm here today with an interesting story. Will the Brandalised flying balloons girl drop be a disaster or not? I want to address this and tell you why I think it will be a disaster. So stay tuned until after the intro. Yes, will the Brandalised flying balloon skull drop be a disaster tomorrow, or will it not be a disaster? I assume it will be a disaster. I want to tell you why. We look at the drop details. We look at why I think it will become a disaster. And as I said, let's start by definitely looking at the drop details first. A note. I've already made 2 videos on the topic of Banksy NFTs. In the meantime, they are no longer called Banksy, but they are called Brandalised because Brandalised is the licenser. Medicom, as they were back then, have withdrawn. They are no longer involved as a licensee, as was announced the first year back then. And I believe that was the Designer Con video. You can definitely watch it here again if you want to see it. And also, which Banksy, in quotes, we still see on Veve. I've already addressed that. You'll also notice that the balloon girl is not included here. I think I mentioned it in the video, but not up front on the thumbnail, so to speak, because personally, it is the least interesting for me. It is indeed very, very, very well known, but I don't find it that exciting, I must say. But we will definitely take a look at Flying Balloons Girl for sure. The ROB will take place tomorrow at February 9th, 2025 at 5 o'clock normal time. The list price is $59.99. They changed that again. It was 60 gems. Now it's $59.99. So for whatever reason, 1,333 editions. For that, you get the rare type first edition available editions for public sale. It is globally available, and that's a difference from the Flower Bomber, which we've already seen. That was only available outside the US. Now the Flying Balloons Girl is globally available. The first public sale is 21. The first mint you get comes public $59.99 because it is a blind box logically. It is also a weightless drop. 222 editions, you are lucky and have the secret rare type first edition. Editions for public sale is the 11th, the first edition you can get publicly. And then there is, as with the Flower Bomber, which we already know, for 250,000 MCP points you can craft the ultra rare. And for 1 million MCP points, you can craft the Bronze Statue Edition. As mentioned, that's the whole thing again in the bronze thing. As I said, we already know this from the Brandalised drop Flower Mamba. It was similar there. The price was still $60 US. By the way, until yesterday, it was also, as mentioned, $59.99. They made it now. Kind of a funny joke, in my opinion. It is definitely too expensive. The drop, it's not a Banksy. One can really argue whether Banksy has given permission for it. We'll also take a closer look at who Brandalised is. I skimmed over it briefly. But why I think it will be a flop or a disaster is simply because at the moment the conditions are not at all the numbers there, the user numbers, those going to A on art, and B, I don't think there will be many, like the secret where for 1 million MCP points. The gamble is to spend 60 gems equivalent to $60 US and then possibly only get one of the 1,333 rares. If you look at how the flower pump has developed, the rare is currently available on the market for $24.95. The ultra rare that's available again, it's also one of those that are crafted, so to speak. You got that one again for $195, so you'd already be in profit. You get 250 MCP points for $195. If you sell it, the secret rare is of course quite a good gamble at $490 US, which it is currently worth on the market. But you see for yourselves, there are 12 on the market of the secret rares from the last 2 and 33 of the rare, 4 ultra rares, so not many either. Don't many people think that it will sell, or they are obviously holding it, meaning they keep it until the end. The game is too high for me, definitely. You know, I'm a big art fan and I just love those things. With the Flower Bomber, I got the rare one in the market at a good price, so I'll do the same with the girl. Also, hold on to the balloons girl. I see it somewhat critically concerning the license. We'll get into that shortly, though it must be said that in real life 3, Food Flying Balloons Girl Banksy Medicom Toy, €2,925. The Flower Bomber goes for €5,950, so it is the less popular piece in the art world. Judging by the price, definitely, as well, whether that's really the case, we don't know. But as I said, that's why I don't believe it will really take off. I think it will be quite a flop tomorrow. Not much will be sold. And one can only hope that they will do it after they burn the comics. After 4 weeks, essentially introduce that to the toys or collectibles as well. Then, of course, you really have the opportunity for scarcity. And then it is also, as I said, to get the baluncle in the market, certain options. Feel free to write in the comments how you handle it. Are you participating in the drop? Are you getting the whole thing with MCP points or getting one on the market? As I said, the white, I can imagine getting the rare thing from the market if the price is right. The red edition, no, it's not the red edition, but rather the concrete edition, so to speak. It looks, you can't see much because it's very overexposed here, but the collectible does look pretty good, you have to say. As mentioned, one with the black one, you can see it a bit better. It's beautifully modeled, so there's nothing to criticize. Again, the Flower Bomber was really, really cool too, but as I said, if you want to create some kind of exhibition later in the VeVeVerse, you should definitely get the white one, the rare. But as I said, you don't need to participate in the drop unless you want to gamble on the secret rare, then you can certainly do that. But otherwise, it's only worth getting it from the market, if at all. And there will be some available again, but as you can see, only 33 are currently available in the market because the prices are simply in the basement. And I think, let's say, there aren't enough people interested in the art. That's why I can imagine we might really see a disaster there tomorrow, which is why I titled it that way. Here we still see the Brandalised stories, everything that can be licensed at Brandalised, and I'm still hoping for the Bomber Girl. I find that quite nice, and I also find the number very beautiful. I could imagine it. The elephant does it with, here there is the Flower Bomber. You have seen it. The elephant with the model strapped on the back. I also find that pretty cool. You see, these are the things that you can basically have licensed with Brandalised, or rather license. It ranges from skater, helmets, and so on and so forth. The partners are also listed, Medicom, Kappa, Black & Decker. They have all already released some kind of Banksy story. Mighty Jacks, you see Huawei, and here is also Veve as a partner. And yes, that is justified, but as I said, the discussion keeps going back and forth, even though, of course, Banksy always says, and he also says it on his own page, you're welcome to use Banksy's image for non-commercial personal amusement. Print them out in color that matches your curtains, make a card for your crayons, submit them as your own homework, whatever. Also, he clearly distances himself from any licensed stories. On the one hand, that is, of course, highly commendable because that is intellectual property. We always have this issue with artists, what is allowed and what is not. Banksy states very clearly on his site what is allowed and what is not, but that is, of course, a bit controversial because he has always dealt with Banksy in an anti-establishment manner. Check out the other 2 videos I made. I touch on that, including the legal aspect. As I said, he has always been somewhat anti-establishment. And that's why it somehow doesn't make sense that art, which is actually made for the people, and he says that again and again, that he then claims the image rights for himself. On the other hand, it is of course true that he has the image rights and can and will deal with them. And as I said, that's just a story that has a double-edged sword, as I always like to say. That is of course a story that one must respect. That's why I already said back then I don't like how it appropriates or descends to a level of licensing, shall we say, with something shady like Brandalised, who claim it for themselves. Yes, they photograph it. It's kind of open source. There are legal disputes back and forth. Good old Banksy has also pursued legal action against department stores, etc., that have used his motifs for advertising. They in turn said they bought it from Brandalised. It is all vague, I would say, and in my opinion, not entirely ethically correct. Back then I didn't understand it, although I really welcome Banksy and also the collectibles within the app, within the Veve app, or the collectibles. But as I said, I find it somewhat questionable in terms of licensing, and I cannot understand how one can associate with such a grey area, or grey area which is not entirely clear legally, gets involved with Veve. As I said, I'm a bit skeptical. Nevertheless, I think the stuff is really great. Don't participate because what I don't like, but definitely because of the price, because it will immediately drop to 20, 22, 25 gems. They are worth it to me, then I'll get it from the market, because the gamble of the Secretariat or even the MCP story with getting the black or something like that through MCP points, 250,000, that's not my game. By the way, if you should do that, I believe it takes place one day later, if I'm not mistaken. That is on February 10th, so on Monday. At 5 o'clock, you can use your 250,000 points for the Black Edition or the 1 million. For the bronze statue, there will, of course, be a poser. Again, no question, whoever has the bronze statue also has, accordingly, MCP points, or even spends 1 million MCP points for it, and that's why there will again be the usual poser. It's not for me, but as I said, I wanted to make the drop appealing to you, or at least explain why I think it will be a disaster. But now I'm out and say goodbye, yours Frank.